Spotify is having second thoughts about whatever Harry and his wife were planning for their multi-million-dollar podcast. And I'm going to outline the reasons why this was never a good idea and how this is going to end up as another ghost project for them. Welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy. And it would be great if you join us by just liking this video, subscribing, and hitting that bell. Let's get down to it. It's no wonder the Harkles decided to jump into the content creation bandwagon with a podcast. Many people from many industries, professions, and crafts know that content creation can be a very profitable business. Now, what exactly is a podcast, and what is the kind of content that Harry and Meghan have the intent to create? In principle, a podcast is a series of episodes in audio format. You can have video podcasts, but in essence, people should be able to consume them just by listening. There are no rules about what kind of content the podcast can be about, but for the sake of simplicity, let's focus on the kind of podcast that Harry and Meghan could make. It's obvious that Spotify is trying to capitalize on the fame of the Montecito dwellers. So the first hook to attract people is the names of the hosts in this case. A podcast can be as simple as turning on the mic and storytelling something about your own life. But of course, most probably you're going to run out of interesting anecdotes really fast. And I think nobody is interested in listening again to Meghan talking about her broken car door. And judging by the amount of time she has given the exact same anecdote throughout the years, well, I think she doesn't have that many interesting anecdotes about her life. Unless, of course, she opts for a fiction podcast, which she has already proven herself to be very proficient at. As for Harry, I'm sure he's saving any personal anecdote, not yet known to the public, for his memoir. Again, maybe he will venture into fiction writing after all. So if Spotify is scrambling to assemble a podcast with the Harkles, but not about the Harkles, then it must be some kind of interview. And interview podcasts are quite popular today. You are the host of the show, you invite guests to talk about a particular topic, and you work as a moderator for the discussion. This is a format that allows for a lot of flexibility because the topics can be as varied as you want, as long as you can land good guests to attend your program. And, well, the wife's ability to summon people for her projects, well, she's got not exactly a winning track record. The real issue here is that for general content creation, it's much better if you pick a topic that you can focus on. And that is no matter how famous you are. For example, Tony Robbins' podcast focuses on personal and business success, while Joe Rogan's podcast is an open discussion of virtually any topic he fancies. But the safest bet is to pick a topic to focus on. Parenting, or women empowerment, or how to use your acting experience in real life, anything. In fact, this is the greatest recommendation if you want to start a podcast. Focus on a single topic, or what is called a niche. Now let's say that Meghan and Harry picked the topic women empowerment, which would make sense because that's also the topic of Meghan's animated project Pearl. We have a bigger obstacle, and that obstacle is Meghan and Harry themselves. Let's say that they focus on one topic and Spotify's production team manages to secure great guests. I don't know, maybe they have compromising pictures to blackmail those guests. But when you have 30 million on the line, then any strategy is fair game, I guess. A podcast is in many ways not an interview. It can have an interview format, but it's usually encouraged that the hosts don't just ask questions, but actually contribute to the argument. After all, the pillar of any content creation should always be the personality of the creator, in this case, the hosts. And that's why the host of a podcast must be an excellent communicator and at the same time be engaging with the topic. You have to be an excellent listener. You gotta have a really quick mind to react to your guest anecdotes. You have to know body language. Oh, well, in this regard, I'm sure Harry and his wife have learned a lot watching my videos. But that ability to listen and communicate is not something that just pops in your skill toolbox. Talking about Tony Robbins and Joe Rogan, they developed those skills for decades. Just knowing how active listening works, we already know that Meghan is going to have real trouble paying attention to what other people say, while her mind is really busy trying to figure out how to make it about herself. Needless to say, you need quick thinking and charisma, something that, well, some were born with not the right genetic combination of those ingredients. But the most important word for any podcast to be successful is wit. Keen, quick intelligence channeled by a boatload of empathy. Because the trick is guiding your guests' ideas into something that you know your audience is going to like. There's no point on just inviting someone, making them talk about a topic and then calling it a day. That is simply not going to work. And it takes a special kind of sensibility to speak to a person that is wiser than you, smarter, more experienced, and have the right conversation to extract the very best for your audience. Because that's the magic behind a successful podcast. It's not 20 questions, it's a conversation. And what Harry and Meghan have shown so far about themselves is that they are rather tone deaf. We are talking about tone deafness level. If you are not happy with your job, you should quit. Now, I would really love to understand the rationale of Spotify executives when they decided to secure this contract. What were they thinking? Maybe they had too much nose candy that day. But I mentioned that one of the hurdles was finding guests, and most probably Spotify's production team is going to take care of that. Well, no amount of blackmailing can prevent personalities to decline any invitations to the Harkles podcast for a very simple concept: association. It's a natural phenomenon that we tend to associate people that hang out together. And that's why it's so critical to be careful who you hang out with in the land of the paparazzi. This is the point of view of the person on the other side of the mic. Okay, I got invited to this podcast with Harry and Meghan, but now I'm wondering, am I really interested on being associated with this too? That's when you make an assessment of the person's track record. And since both Meghan and Harry are no strangers to scandals, it will not be hard to imagine that there will be more scandals in the future. And since the internet never forgets, you never know when something that you said spontaneously on a live conversation can come back and bite you at a later date. These are the reasons why the Harkles podcast is going to be a flop. And you might be wondering again, what kind of nose candy was that? I'm sure that Spotify just wanted to act fast, secure a deal, and then figure out everything else later. That's okay. They gave the Harkles production company time and space to do something, anything in 2021. But since there was nothing beyond a single episode produced, they are taking matters into their own hands. Because there's also the factor of being relevant. And the numbers don't lie. Meghan and Harry are still the two most searched figures related to the royal family while not being part of the royal family. But that doesn't make them influential or much less bankable in terms of new subscribers for this streaming platform. So whatever notoriety they have now, Spotify knows that time is running out. I think they will be much better at creating a reality show, maybe with the name Hanging Out with the Harkles. I will watch that show, so you don't have to. If you want to refine your observation skills, all you have to do is download my 100 body language tips right in the description of this video. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas, and it will always be a pleasure, my body language buddies. Much love and bliss.